Hey everybody, before we get to the videos, I just wanted to let you know these were part of the original Kickstarter campaign from back in March. And oh my goodness, this game has come a long way since then. The components have gotten significant, huge upgrades, especially those really cool snap-on masks. Now they're unique for each faction. Plus, they're going to be offering hand-painted options for folks who really dig that kind of thing. There's been some streamlining to some of the gameplay elements, taking feedback on from folks from the first campaign, and just overall, this thing seems set to blow up. So, bear in mind, the run-through, I think, still does a great job of capturing the overall feel of this dueling game, but there is so much more going on, folks. So, if you want to check it out, you can hit that eye in the top right corner screen or follow the links down in the show notes for when the campaign starts. All right, folks. Now, let's get going. Kimberly, take it away.
Hey everybody, it's time for my final thoughts on Ynaros Fallin. But before we get to that, please remember that this was a paid Kickstarter preview. And with that out of the way, here's what I think. Kimberly here, and I'm excited to share my final thoughts about Ynaros Fallin, because this is one of those dueling games. It's a player versus player. Now there is an option for solo play, and there is an option for 4 players, but the run-through I showed was a 2-player, and I think that might be the most common way that you'll play this. The thing about it is it's not absolutely this push and pull and punch that I see with a lot of dueling games. It has a lot more complexity and more game to it that requires you build up resources, and it allows you to use your resources in a multitude of ways. And battle is a component, it's an element to the game, but it's not the only thing to the game. And so that's what I really appreciate about this, and that's what I think sets Ynaros Fallin apart from other dueling games. Now, what are you doing in this game? Players are going to control multiple followers, and yet again, that's another cool feature that most dueling games don't have. They don't have multiple figures walking around being able to activate and do certain things. You have all these shaman and followers, and in this game, in the deluxe version, these shaman have these fancy masks that you get to put on the faces of the followers, so the figures are just so cute and they're so functional. But these figures will walk around the board and they'll activate mystical sources that flip over and discover these magic lands. And the magic lands are going to give you crystals and bonuses. Now, if you get those ongoing bonuses, they help you in things like battle, or they help you convert your crystals with more experience points earned and things like that just continually give you a nice engine. You've got these one-offs that are immediate bonuses, but those long-term are really cool benefits. So they walk around and they essentially can control the minds of their opponents if they can see their figures. So there's this really lovely play of strategy, like an overall strategy of how you want to run your game, how defensive you want to be, how offensive do you want to be, how much do you want to invest in ongoing benefits or immediate benefits. But then there's a tactical feel to this game that's like, if I place my figure right here in this hex, my opponent is going to come over and try to control me and use their crystals to glean my benefits from my green lands, or they're going to try to, benefit from my power die, and they're going to be able to move really far, or they could simply just take this die and fight, like do a pre-battle attack, and they're like, oh, just got 4 points, and then they go 1, 2, 3, 4, and they move you down on this battle track even though you haven't battled yet. And so there's just this really nice tactical approach, and I think it gives players so much opportunity for choice. Now, these magic lands are just cool. There's so much to love about the magic lands, and there are so many of them in the box that there's this, page after page appendix that tells you what everything is, but the iconography is pretty clear. And once you, get a feel for the crystals and the colors and the iconography, you're going to be fine. But the fact that there are so many of these magic lands that give you a multitude of bonuses that you want to go for means that every game is going to be different. You are not going to be doing the same things. And I played the run-through on level 2, which added a nice element of movement and flow and bonus evocation tiles But there's a level 3 and a level 4 and a level 5. I mean, this has the possibility, the opportunity to grow and add more complexity and more layers to it, which I just think is so cool. And I have to say, there is the Dark Adventure expansion, and that is what allows you to play a new level as 2 players, a dueling game, but it also gives you the chance to play solo. And it also incorporates these little figures that are like the blue and yellows, but they're black, and they have darkness to them. The Dark Adventures, like they're like super shadowy figures, and so that adds just a whole new fun layer to this game. And I had 2 I guess like I wish that the game had included, and then I found out from the designer that they're going to be coming out with either add-ons, or they're going to be stretch goals, or they're going to be expansions added later. And it's going to be dice are going to have other symbols on them in addition to the power number, because you're only allowed to do what your power dice says when you move. So I have it on 6. You can move 6 spaces, all of your figures combined. So it's just 6 movement, 4 with this guy, 2 with that guy, or 4, 1, 1. And so you have this, but there are going to be other symbols, which I like the idea of souped up dice. And then the cards. I think my biggest critique was that the cards are just blue or yellow, and that's because it's my color or my opponent's color. And there are going to be other things and other elements that are going to be added to the cards in upcoming expansions for the game. And then the other thing too is the figures have like a hole. They have their hand like holding something. And there's going to be another expansion that comes out with like magical items or wands that allow figures to put them in these, like you have sticks and you put them in there, and then those figures specifically are going to have the magic feature. So this game has been built with all these different elements and layers and expansions in mind, but I will say the base game is there. It's interesting. Players will take 2 actions on their turn, and they will activate in the middle phase anything that they are standing on in the land, and in the third phase, you will get to essentially do your conversion, and that's a way for you to get experience points for your crystals. So it has some really fun features. I think there's a lot of choice, and I love the collection of magic lands as your set collection, because the more you get, the more value you have towards your experience, because you can get up to 40 experience points just for getting magic lands, and that's one way that you can trigger the end of the game. That is if your opponent doesn't KO you 4 times, which is another way. So if you want to battle and you want to battle hard, just go after your opponent. You can take their vital life crystals and just KO them before you ever add up the experience points. But there are other ways to play this game, and I just think it has just a lovely feel to it, and I think it's probably just right there in that, hour-long strategy 2-player and 1 and 4, don't forget about those, experience. So thank you for joining me with my final thoughts and take on Ynaros Fallin. I think a lot of those things that I wanted with this base game are coming out in newer levels, expansions, and just other things. So yay, right? That's always what we want to hear. Okay, I will see you later, folks. Bye-bye.